Hi guys! So today I'm going to be showing you how I animated the anime rain shot. I hope you enjoy it!
For this project, I'm going to start off by analyzing some reference. I'm pulling reference from real life, which I always think is a good idea, and Garden of Words by Makoto Shinkai, as this is a huge inspiration for the style of this project and for me in general. I'm specifically looking for layers and types of rain that is used in these shots. For this first reference, there's obviously a lot of falling rain that is going straight down. And we also see that there are particle-like things that are falling, for example, like leaves or flower petals, and that adds a lot of detail to the shot. There's also bigger and blurrier raindrops in the foreground that creates depth in the shot. In the next one, there's falling rain, but we also see another layer which is slower, bigger raindrops that are falling. And there's also blurry rain in the foreground to create depth. This is a close-up rain shot that I really wanted to try out as well. And because the rain is falling on a hard surface that isn't wet already, the rain hits quite aggressively on the ground. There aren't many frames for each drop, and it helps show how solid the ground is. There are also tiny droplets that bounce off of the ground when the big, fast one hits, and a sort of mist after each droplet, as you can see here. And of course, in the background, again, there's the falling rain. Here's a slow motion rain footage, which is great for seeing how rain reacts when landing in water. This is obviously different from the shot before because the ground is very wet and it's not solid anymore. I'm also using this to take lighting and color references from for the animation, and I'm marking them roughly just to get an idea of where the highlights and shadows are. There's also a kind of sizzle that appears over the water when the raindrops hit, which I wanted to add into my shot. This is one of my favorite references, really what I wanted to try in the shot with this rain hitting a wet surface, creating these droplet splashes. Again, I'm just trying to analyze the way they animated this frame by frame. They also added ripples around each splash, which is amazing. Again, we see some sizzle droplets that are kind of random, making the shot feel more alive. I'm also super inspired by the narrow focus that the shot has, so the foreground and background are really blurry and only a small narrow strip is actually in focus. And as always, we can't forget the falling rain. Here's rain on window footage. As you can see, most of the droplets are still, but the heavier ones start sliding down. And this is some nice detail I wanted to add into the shot as well, with the raindrops hitting the window. This is rain on the window again, but from anime. I'm also taking a lot of color references from the scene, again marking where the highlights and shadows are. All the drops slide down the window slowly, but to make it easier for my animation, I wanted to make it loopable so they'll just be static. The big drops run down the window, always kind of following a path, so their tails are on the same path as their head. Taking all of this info I've gathered, I can now start animating all the layers and variations. The first one here I'm animating is the water drop with the ripple. I'm coloring the anim according to the color palette of my background painting, which is kind of bluish, but also inspired by the footage I gathered, which is mostly like blue and greenish tones because of the rainy atmosphere. Now we have all the animated layers and variations finished, and they're all loopable, so I can make the process faster by duplicating them and placing them around the shot without animating each individual drop of rain. Now I can start comping, and I'm doing this in After Effects. I'm bringing all my animated layers in with my background, and then I'm looping each element, duplicating them, and placing them around the shot. This first bit I'm working on is the static rain on the window, so I'm trying to make sure that all the loops are offset so it's not so obvious that I duplicated all of them. I'm scaling any water droplets in the foreground a little bit larger, and then the background a bit smaller to give it that depth. And after placing all the elements, it's time to add some blur to make the scene come to life with the narrow focal length. So I love using the camera lens blur in After Effects, and then I'll just mask out so that the front is blurry while the midground is in focus, and blur out the background as well. And then you can always keyframe and shift the focus of the shot to make it more rack focus. I also went to town with other effects like lens flares and stuff like that, which you can add to your shot if you'd like.
Thanks so much for watching. Bye.